Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and since the new Ghostbusters film was recently released, I wanted to talk about Ghostbusters The Video Game that came out in 2009, which I personally consider as the actual third film in the series of Ghostbusters, because it has all the original actors returning to voice their characters, and the story was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, so it doesn't get any more Ghostbusters than that. And if anybody's curious, no, I did not see the new film, nor do I have any interest, and before anybody screams, misogynist! Let me just say that I would hate this movie 10 times more if it had Adam Sandler and his crew. Can you imagine that if it was with the cast of the grown-ups? That would be 10 times worse. No, what I'm sick of is Hollywood taking a lack of risks and just digging into their old IPs and ruining classics. So I have the PS3 version here, but this is just more of a physical prop, as I began my capture for this episode off of this version, but it just wasn't up to the graphical fidelity that I would have liked. So all the footage you're going to see is actually from the PC version, and you can see on screen the difference. It's incredible. This is one of those multi-platform releases that got a lazy PlayStation 3 port. So if you want to play this game on consoles, the 360 version is superior. That's not to say this version's unplayable though. It's totally playable. I've played both. For anybody who wants to know what my computer hardware is, it's nothing fancy. It is a 6-core AMD Phenom X6 1055T processor with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the GPU is a Radeon HD 5570, so nothing fancy, but it'll do the job. Ghostbusters was developed by Terminal Reality and released in 2009. Terminal Reality was an awesome studio, and it sucks that they don't exist anymore, but their years of experience shone through in this awesome game. The game begins 2 years after the events of Ghostbusters 2, and the Ghostbusters are now subsidized and approved by the city of New York and will invoice them directly for their ghost capturing. You take the role of a new recruit for the Ghostbusters as you help them test out new prototype equipment. The city has a new Gozer exhibit in the museum, but something sets off a huge seismic blast of PKE, and New York City is plagued with tons of mischievous spirits. Of course as well, that means Gozer has returned in his Stay Puft Marshmallow form, and there actually is a good explanation for it later on in the game. In the confusion, Slimer escapes, and there's only one place he will go. That's right, we're headed back to Sedgwick Hotel. This game has a lot of fan service, but it's done in a way where it's totally justifiable, and it makes the Ghostbusters New York City very familiar. There are a lot of great returning characters, such as the frustrating Walter Peck, which will serve as the opposition to the Ghostbusters.
ECOC, Paranormal Contracts Oversight Commission. And my first official act is going to be suspending you clowns' operating license. I should have shuttered you fraudulent gangsters forever when I had the chance. You know what? I'm going to put an end to this madness now. Right now. I'm shutting down your containment grid for good. You can kiss off a permanent license, not to mention any chance for more government contracts. You did this to me. And you're going to pay.
You're welcome, you peck.
All right, that's it. You're done, smart guys. You are done, smart, cool guys.
As the story progresses, our friends discover that a man named Ivo Shandor, who is an architect and leader of a doomsday cult, is responsible for virtually everything the Ghostbusters have had to deal with so far. He even created the tunnel network for the ectoplasmic slime to travel beneath the city, the same tunnels that held the slime that Vigo the Carpathian made use of. He also constructed many different buildings to act as nodes on a physical mandala to merge the ghost world with our present world and summon destructors like Gozer and worse. So ultimately, the goal is to find all of these real-life mandala nodes which serve as anchors in the ghost world and sever their ties, all while busting ghosts left and right. In between missions, you also get to run around the Ghostbusters firehouse, and there's lots of little bit of nostalgic values, including the picture of Vigo Carpathian that you can interact with. And what's even great, they got the voice actor.
My veins spurt white-hot bile and broken glass as I'm forced to look upon you. Now is the season of evil.
The gameplay is simply amazing. You have the complete loadout of a Ghostbuster, which includes your proton pack, PKE meter and goggles, and ghost traps. This new proton pack comes with a few alternate firing modes. There's the standard proton stream for battling and capturing ghosts. You wear down a stamina meter in the ghost until his stamina is low enough for you to throw a capture stream on it. From there, you can slam them around the room to fatigue them, making it easier to pull them into a trap. Pulling them into the trap is awesome, as you have to fight and pull the ghost as it desperately tries to escape, and your capture stream bends and reacts in real time. Using any of the proton packs firing too long will cause the pack to overheat, so you'll need to manually vent the pack to keep it from overheating. There is also a blue stasis stream which can freeze enemies or be used in a shock blast mode as a shotgun. This attack is good for destroying physical things or objects possessed by a ghost. If you freeze a ghost with the stasis ray, you can blast them into pieces with the shock blast. The slime blower shoots positively charged slime that is good for neutralizing the effect of black slime and black slime entities. It also closes interdimensional portals as well as removing ghostly anomalies. The final firing mode is a Meson Collider, which is a rapid fire weapon that has piercing properties and is good in the later stages of the game. Its secondary fire shoots out a blast that acts as a homing beacon for regular shots, which is super useful. I found this weapon to be useful against large monstrous type of enemies. This game completely nails the atmosphere of Ghostbuster, and it's awesome to have the cast all voicing their roles. I'd have to say, for me personally, Dan Aykroyd has the best performance. Bill Murray seems to be hit or miss in his delivery, as if he really didn't want to do the project, but I think a lot of his delivery and what makes Bill Murray so great is his facial features and body motion, which just aren't conveyed all that well in this character model. There's a few times they tried to have Venkman be the smooth ladies man that he is, but it just came off as just a little creepy.
Well, hello. You're perfectly safe now, Miss. The Ghostbusters are here.
Back off, loser. Never gonna happen.
That approach rarely works with me. I'll show you why later.
I really like the graphical style of this game and the physics, particularly the proton stream. It runs on the Infernal engine, which is something Terminal Reality developed. The destruction physics are fantastic, as your proton stream will leave burn lines and debris everywhere, which makes it hilariously awesome to be a Ghostbuster.
The Alhambra Ballroom! The Bar Mitzvah! What have you done? The guests are arriving in 15 minutes!
There are a few elements of horror and jump scares, but it keeps the tone in that light-hearted realm that's synonymous with Ghostbusters. You usually will have a partner or the rest of the Ghostbusters team with you, so you don't feel so alone. That's also great because if your stamina runs out, you'll be knocked down and your teammate can revive you. In return, you'll also need to revive fallen teammates. Most of the time it's a great system, however it can get obnoxious in some of the boss battles where you'll find yourself repeatedly picking up fallen comrades, only to have them fall back down 2 seconds later. There are a few sections in the game where you'll be left all alone, and that's where the pressure and horror really set in. It definitely keeps you on your toes, especially when you get separated from the team in the sewers and you have to battle giant slime creatures. There are also PS2 and Wii versions of this game, and they're essentially the same game with the only difference being level design, but some set pieces remain intact, like your battle with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. A great element in this version is you can choose to either be a male or female Ghostbuster, so that's cool. If you're a mega fan of Ghostbusters like me and you think you'd enjoy these games, I recommend both versions. This version is definitely more accessible for a younger audience, as all of the horror elements have been removed and kept very lighthearted with a cartoony style that I like very much. It's also considerably easier in terms of gameplay and capturing ghosts. You don't have to struggle with them to get them in traps, just wear them down enough and then trap them. When things get crazy, at least on the PS2 version, the frame rate will drop considerably, but it's not horrible. All in all, it's a great version. Okay, so it's time for an embarrassing story. Back in 2009, I was invited to a private screening of Harold Ramis's film Year One. It's not that good of a movie. But afterwards, at the after party, I was there and he was there, and I kept thinking, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? And I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I went up to him and got his attention, and I was like, hey, so I just want to know that the character of Peter Venkman that you and Dan created, I just want you to know that growing up, that was my role model on how to talk to women. I actually said that to him. That's so embarrassing. And I was like, I know it sounds crazy. And his response was golden. He goes, yeah? How'd that work out for you? And it just made me feel so stupid. But at the same time, I just laughed it off, and that was that. But it's so embarrassing, but I'm so happy that I did it, because at least I have that memory, and at least I have this crazy story to tell. It's really a shame that he's no longer with us. He was a great creator. All in all, Ghostbusters the Video Game is so incredibly awesome, and it truly is the next chapter after Ghostbusters 2. If you're a Ghostbusters fan and you haven't experienced this game, I highly recommend it. I personally suggest the PC version with a nice controller. So this is just a love letter to all Ghostbusters fans. It takes the overarching story and wraps it up in a nice bow. And for me, forever, Ghostbusters the Video Game will be the only third Ghostbusters story I acknowledge. And if that offends anybody, all I have to say is, who you gonna call?